Hi, I'm Just Jill, and I'm testifying on They Overcame by. Wow, who would have thought? Who would have thought? Leader, praise and worship leader, theology major, elder in my church. I don't know. We don't have many Generation Adventists in our family, but my family's Christian. Who would have thought that someone who everyone said had potential would one day make a choice that would change her life? But this choice, among other bad choices, this one got her exposed her. Who would have thought? I, somewhere along the line, learned how to cover up a lot of things, play the part, look the part, say the part, sing the part. And then when the lights were off, I could live the life that I wanted to live. And the going back and forth between what I wanted to do, what God has called me to do, and what God expects His people to do. Living a life like that, one day, whoa, oh wow, I found myself having to drop out of school. And I dropped out of school because I learned that I was 3 months pregnant, and devastated me, and I knew that it would devastate many others, people that God had given me influence over, and my family, my ministry. I knew that man, it was going to be terrible. And not only was it going to be terrible for the effects that it'll have on the leadership and the place that God had given me, but I had been there before. I've experienced I have experienced pregnancy before, but I covered it up, and I decided to have an abortion, and I was just living life. And I thought that I was okay because no one knew until it happened again. And when it happened again, yes, the temptation to cover it up was there. But late in the midnight hour, as clear as I'm speaking to you, I heard God ask me, why do you want to do this? Why are you going to get rid of it? Tell me why. If you could give me a good reason, I'll leave you alone about it. I said everything. I said, God, they're going to talk about me. I can't do it. I heard him say, well, they talk about me. There are people that don't even believe in me. They talk about my son. Next, if I can't handle it, Jill, then you could go and I won't mention anything to you. So I said, God, I can't provide for a child. I own everything, he says, Jill. I own the cattle on 1,000 hills. You can't provide. Then I said, God, I'm scared. I don't want to be a baby mama. And he said, I'll take care of you. If anything happens, I'll take care of you. You know that. I got convicted, short-term convicted. In the night, at that moment, I said, okay, God, I won't. Oh, strong. But then, somewhere at 5 o'clock in the morning, I changed my mind. And I said, you know what? Forget all of that. I'm not doing it because I can't handle the pressure of the church. I can't handle the pressure of my mom, and I just didn't want to handle it. And I'm used to covering things up. So I gathered the funds, headed down, getting ready to head down to Birmingham. I realized that I was short some funds, so I reached out to get them, and I got text from 2 people that knew nothing about what was going on, and all that text said was, I'm praying for you, and God can handle anything. That's all I received. That's on the way to the clinic. On the way, mind made up. And I wanted to hurry up and get it done because I had to sing that night. So it was a lot going on, and but somewhere along the line, headed down the highway, I realized that was the wrong decision. And I realized that I had never known a God that I had, sung about, that I would preach about. I didn't know this God that I was getting ready to be introduced to that day. I didn't know. I didn't know that God was about to show me that His love was far deeper than I could ever imagine. I didn't know that I was about to experience God's sovereign mercy and His grace, and that He's legit when He says that He loves you. I didn't know that I was about to experience that. I wish that I could say that in that moment, me deciding not to get an abortion, that in that moment that things got better, but they didn't. The only thing, looking back over my life now, the only thing that got better is that I placed my hands in God's hands, that I placed my life in His hands by saying I won't have an abortion, because the next day it was terrible. I thought that her father and I would get together. I thought that, the normal expectations in my culture is to get married to the father, and so it doesn't look so bad. And there's so many things that we have been taught that try to cushion our decisions, our bad decisions. But God said, no, that's not the route that I want you to go on, Jill. No cushioning. I need you to let me be in charge, and let me be in charge of everything. And just because it hurts doesn't mean that I'm not in charge. It hurt terribly. It hurt. I experienced the rejection that I had often tried to avoid in a relationship. We did not get married. We did not stay together. So here I am pregnant, thinking that I'm not good enough to be with the one that I got pregnant from, and I'm feeling all sorts of things. I'm feeling guilt. I'm feeling useless. I'm feeling worthless. I'm feeling everything. And then when I reached out to my spiritual leaders, and it seemed like no one had a word for me. It seemed like that everyone thought I had leprosy instead of pregnancy, and they just kind of backed off. It seemed like they didn't care. It seemed like people that I used to pray with and pray for just didn't care about me. But guess what? I believe that God will sometimes cause divine tension, and that's where He will cause the storm, just so that it rustles up and gets tough on you, so it would posture us to come to Him and come before Him in a way that we've never been. I had never been before the Lord empty and broken like that. I never had to come to God, even though I encouraged the world to be broken before the Lord. Even though I used to sing and tell Him all your problems, He will answer it. He's an on-time God. All of that went out the window when it was on me. But I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that God didn't let up on me, because guess what? It didn't get better. It got worse. I went to church, and people did have negative things to say. People did shun me. People did give me the nod of disapproval, and it hurt. It hurt so badly. I had to drop out of school, and I had to go before my teachers, and I went alone. I had to go and walk with the big belly alone. They always say it's always worse for the female, because we have the show of our sin. We have to walk with our bellies big and no ring on our fingers, and the mister can get away with it. But don't worry about that, because whenever people mess up, you don't know how people are feeling on the inside, whether they are getting chastised on the outside. You don't know. You just don't know. But one thing that I did experience during this time was deep depression. And the depression came because of the guilt that I felt. The negative things that were said to the church, they didn't even add up or match the negative things that I was telling myself. They didn't come close. And because of this guilt, I began to form habits that would prove itself to be detrimental to my life, to my child, to everything. I started... after I had the baby, again, times were rough. I didn't have a place to live. I stayed in the shelter. I stayed a couple nights in my car. You know, things just got terrible. I had people that loved me, but the guilt kept me from reaching out. The shame kept me from going to them and getting help. And then sometimes when people love you, they don't know how to help when they've been hurt by your decisions. And I had to live through that. Shortly after my child got here, it was some nights I couldn't afford Pampers. I didn't have money, so I was down to like 4 diapers, and it was either save the diapers for when I would go to work and let her use it then, or just, you know, use them up and then try to work something out. I mean, it got so bad that I think I would just beg people for money. I would, if I couldn't find the money, I would go and take diapers. Go and take it, and didn't care. I would open them in the store, change her in the store. I would just do it, reaching. Never once saying, God help me, because I didn't feel God was with me, because things were terrible. It didn't make sense that I was going through all of this. Someone who's supposed to be called and who he has his hand on to be going through like this. I felt very isolated, so much so that now that my child was born, I developed the habit, started smoking. I smoked before when I was younger. You know, I let it go because, you know, it was just a phase. But this phase became my reality and became a way of life for me eventually. I started smoking anything I could because I didn't want to feel. If I had to experience this, not feeling anything was going to get me through it. Started smoking, and there would be some times that I would be so lit that I couldn't take care of my daughter. And getting high just made me more depressed, and I didn't realize it. I was telling my friends I was good. I was telling them I got this, trying to raise a daughter. And then eventually one day it hit me. Jill, I want to do a work in you, but I can't do this work in you with your daughter present, because you're going to destroy her. You're going to destroy the gifting and gifts and that I've put in her. And it hurt me so bad that my daughter had to be around me at this time. I let my mom take my daughter and my sister take my daughter to live with them, and she lived with them for a year. And I thought things would get better because I had enough strength to take my daughter and drop her off so she could live with my mom, so that I knew that she was getting cared for, and then that I knew that I wouldn't mess her life up any more than I already had, just the influence of having alcohol and smoking, you know, things like that around her. And the day I dropped her off hurt me so bad, but it was a pain that God used to encourage me to legitly give myself to him and let him do what he has to do. Again, he made a promise to me, and the promise was, Jill, I promise you it's going to get worse before it gets better. Not too happy about that, but I still, you know, pressed on. As soon as I dropped her off, I made it back to Huntsville, and that was the shortest 10 hours ever. I cried the whole way. I drove back, and when I got in my house, I stayed there in the dark for almost 4 days. I got everything I could drink. I got everything I could smoke. And then I had some pain pills there that I hadn't used, and I just took them all. I didn't stop. They made me numb. They made me not feel anything because I was tired of feeling. I was tired of being hurt, tired of being ashamed, tired of the predicament that I was in. And so, again, forming habits because of guilt that would just propel me into a deeper depression, propel me, cause me to go into a place that I had never expected to go. Me? No. I eventually learned how to cope with these things in my system and still sing and still go and minister, because I thought that since singing was the safest place that I could be, I would start singing again. And I thought maybe God wanted me to do that. So I started singing again. But I would sing high, sing lit, or right afterwards go and just just go into a place where it's terrible. And eventually, I got so bad that I didn't want to move. I didn't want to go to church. I couldn't. And I was tired of living like this, and I couldn't get it together, to where I became suicidal because I thought my daughter and the rest of the world was better without me. I was so messed up that I became toxic to my own friends, hanging around. God has always had his hand on me. I know that God has given me power of influence, but that thing is so strong that even when I was making bad decisions, I would get people to follow me then, and I knew something was wrong then. I literally took the influence that God had given me and turned that thing into it was so demonic, and it was terrible. When I think about it, how could God forgive a person like that? It blows my mind that he never let his hand off of me, even in making decisions. We like to paint a picture of a God with white gloves. I imagine his gloves are filthy because he has to pick some of us, people like me, out of some terrible places. And it's not clean. It's not pretty. It's a mess. And finally, on this particular night, when I had taken over, I don't know how many pills, I drank so much, smoked so much, I hadn't eaten, I wasn't sleeping for months. I hadn't slept more than maybe 20 hours in a month. That I was literally, my body started breaking down on me, and I thought I was going to die. I thought that was it. And it was then that God said, Jill, are you finished? Jill, are you done? And I said, God, I'm done. I don't have nothing left, but if you can salvage any of this, you can have it. I don't really care. Do what you want. Somebody do what you want. And God took the initiative to change my life. Once, in that little bit of strength, I gave it over to him. And he showed me a part of his character that I depend on today, that I'm so grateful for, that he loves me, and that there's nowhere I could go that's too far for him to reach me. And because of that, he just started to spring up in me new life. He started to show me that he loved me, and he started to show me who he created me to be, and that he didn't create me to go through and to do the things that I was doing. And once he started telling me how he loved me and fashioned me, is when I started to turn some things around by giving it to him. And the habits that I had formed that I couldn't break, God delivered me from them. And every step of the way, although it was hard and heavy to make each step, they were made through his mercy. And he has restored me, is restoring me. And I couldn't be more grateful. And I didn't know that God was so legit like this. I didn't know that he was so merciful like this until he started to strengthen my legs like a baby learning to walk for the first time. I no longer needed the handrails of, certain things. I no longer needed to, wobble. Man, I was walking, and I was walking because God had trained me. He had taught me to walk, and I'm so happy. My daughter eventually came back. My daughter is the best thing that ever happened to me. Where it seemed like it was the worst, where I resented having my daughter, I realize now that God's character was attached to that baby girl in a way that I could never imagine. She is life to me, this baby. This baby loves unconditionally. I can reprimand her, and in the next second, she's loving on me. The next second, she shows me that God loves us no matter what, and chastisement is a form of his love. Rebuke is a form of his love. We make bad choices, and there are consequences, but the good thing about our God is that he will be with us through these consequences. Life goes on. It has moved on. It has come with trials. It has come with testing. It has come with me having to forsake a lot of things because of those habits that I had formed. But every step of the way, God has strengthened me, and God has been with me. And I have overcome because he's already done it for me. I have. And I stand here with something to sing about, y'all. I stand here like I can't wait till those church doors open for me to sing his praises, because I know the God that I sing about now. It's not just words, it's not just phrases, and not just Bible verses. He that came to save my soul came to save my soul because he loved me. And I didn't know a love like that. Didn't know a love. I turned to people to love me. I turned to things when I wanted the love and didn't get it, but felt like listen, God loves you unconditionally. And just because you hurt, it doesn't mean he's absent. Doesn't mean he doesn't care. It just means he is positioning you to see how glorious he is. When you're down, only way to look is up. That's it. That's it. And so thankful to God. I'm so thankful to him for posturing me in a way that I can see his glory, and I can see that he loves me without a shadow of a doubt. And if I could encourage anybody to keep going, even though it gets hard and you'll have to deal with your decisions, people won't always be happy and pleased with you. They will hurt you. You will hurt yourself. Just know that God loves you too much to let you go. And he specializes in imperfect people. He does. And I have to tell somebody that. I will forever tell someone that. I will laugh. I will cry with you. I will sing and praise with you. And I most importantly will give God all the glory because it belongs to him. Listen, I've been there, done that. You name it, I've been there, done that. And the enemy will not, he cannot, I shall not, I declare he will not have any glory over my life anymore. I gave him a little time, but that's all he got. And so me and God has work to do. So you stay tuned, and I want you to keep going. And if I can do it, you can do it. If I can put my hand in the master's hand and let him lead, I know that you can do it. And the day that you say that you do, don't expect to be roses. Expect it to get rough. But when it does, when it's the darkest, he's the closest. When it's the darkest, he gets more glory, because as soon as he steps on the scene, I tell you, it's got to lighten up. It's got to. And you're going to see a part of him that you are missing in your life. And that will lead you to humility. That will lead you to obedience. That will lead you to know that he can keep you from falling. He can keep you in perfect peace. Yeah. So guess what? We can overcome. We will overcome. I'm overcoming. Yeah, I am. You could do the same. Thanks for listening. Us.